All right, do another video. I guess that's my intro now. It's going to be the top 10 of 2022 of just albums that I bought this year. So yeah, it's not like, everything I've listened to. It's obviously not, the best of everything that was released. This is just everything that I purchased on vinyl. And my criteria is it had to have been released at least on vinyl in the year 2022 or very late in 2021, like November, December, because some of that stuff, I wouldn't have enough time to know if it was a best album of 2021 if it came in so late in the year. So I kind of like counting, those last couple months. This album I did get recently, and it is a album on the new label for Atomic Fire Records, which is a shoot off of Nuclear Blast. I guess one of the guys who worked at Nuclear Blast created a record label and started signing a bunch of bands. And one of the bands he signed was Seventh Storm. And this is an album called Maledictus, which I actually looked that up because I wasn't sure what that was. And Maledictus is a female with a blood curse that eventually turns into a beast. I don't know how that goes into the pirate theme here. There's a lot of pirate theme on this record. And one thing about this album is the drummer of this album is the drummer for Moonspell. So yeah, this is a really cool record. It has energy or sounds like, it reminds me of Evergrey and like an Evergrey and a Symphony X kind of mix. There's some other stuff in there too, but I think Evergrey and Symphony X is kind of spot on here, kind of like a mix of those two bands. This actually came with a poster too, and I have that in here. You can see it's just the poster of the cover. Actually, it's only a 4x4, or a 2x2. So yeah, this is pretty cool. It got a pretty good, release. And this album was incredibly cheap. I got it on Amazon for, I think, under 20 bucks when I noticed it on there. And somebody else on Instagram, I think it's Heavy Metal Thunder 6. He's actually another guy who lives around here in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I live. I noticed him on Instagram one time, and because he had posted an Arion record, which Arion is my favorite. Well, Arjen Lucassen is one of my favorite artists, musical artists, and his project is Arion. So, and that guy has a really great record collection, shows a lot of stuff on there. And he showed this record, and he's like, this is a contender for record of the year. And because we have similar tastes, I know he likes Arion and a lot of stuff that he posts. I think I just listened to a little bit of a couple songs on here, streaming, and then I immediately started looking for it and found it incredibly cheap on Amazon. This one that I have is the Coke bottle clear vinyl that I don't know how many different versions there were of this, but yeah, Coke Bottle Clear was the one that I got. But yeah, this is a really great record. It also has a bit of symphonic metal, so Evergrey and Symphony X are more progressive metal. It has those elements, but this also adds a bit of the symphonic stuff, like from bands like Epica or Nightwish, kind of that style as well. So it's kind of a good mix. So I'm still listening to this album, so it's still kind of growing on me. I'm not getting bored with it at all yet, but it's still kind of new to me. So songs to check out, probably just the first couple songs. Pirate's Curse and Sudaday is one of the songs. There's an English version on here. But yeah, really good record. Number 10 on the list. Check these guys out, especially if you like Evergrey or Symphony X. All right, this one is one of those albums I was just talking about that came out late in 2021. The album, or the CD was released in November of 2021, but the vinyl was not released until December 5th, 2021. So I got this really late in the year, and I did order this pre-order, so I did get it not too long after that, but I got to spend the whole year with it, and it's Crazy Lixx Street Lethal. This album is fantastic. Hair metal or glam metal is not dead in 2022. It is alive and it's thriving in Sweden. It's not really thriving in America. As far as American bands, there probably are American bands, but they're just not making as much of a impression, at least on me. And if there are bands out there, I'd really like to hear about them. But bands like this, bands like Crashdie, you know, those guys are front runners right now, and they are just killing it. And Crazy Lixx is amazing. They are an amazing, amazing band. These guys, you know, they think it's 1988 in perpetuity. And I praise the hell out of them for it because it's freaking great. This is an excellent, excellent album. Songs to check out on this album, this is my number 9 pick for 2022, would be Rise Above. They have a song on here called Anthem for America. And let me read a lyric here because it's really good. Yeah, it says, for Anthem for America. Somebody pulled the plug around 1993 and it's never been the same. Trash corporate radio, soap opera MTV, you can do much better. Don't let them make up your mind like the millions of others. Stand up, don't fall back in line. You gotta take it back. So let's take it back, man. We want more bands like this who are just, you know, really embodying the 80s glam metal sound. You know, this band would be on Headbangers Ball immediately, you know, of 1988 for sure. Even maybe 89, 90, you know, right before, you know, it started to cross over into the you know, early 90s where, you know, the grunge era started taking over and everybody kind of started switching over, where Alice in Chains started hitting. I would say that these guys are a little bit before that in their sound. You know, they have a clean sound. You know, they have a 2022 production, so it's not like, you know, raw like a Dokken or, you know, Dokken's first couple records, Poison. You know, it definitely has a more modern production on it, and that, in a way, the songwriting is so good that I don't even think about it a lot. But I do wish, you know, because a lot of the traditional heavy metal bands that are coming out now are trying to, you know, they are really trying to have more of a dirty production, you know, a dirty sound, you know, a more lo-fi sound. And I think these guys, they didn't necessarily do that, but it doesn't hurt the record. It just definitely makes it sound, it sounds like it's a 2022 album. But I don't know, man, the songs are just excellent. They're excellent. You're gonna sing along to this stuff. It's just a very, very, very fun record. So yeah, that's my 9th, and this is their 7th studio album, which is crazy to me. I have all of them on vinyl, all the ones that were released on vinyl. The one that I really want them to release is the self-titled. That was like maybe their 5th record or something, maybe their 4th record. That record is so, so good. Hell Raising Women is on that. That song is just, it kills. It might be because it was one of the first songs that I heard from them, but these guys are just fantastic. They're amazing. They're from Sweden. There's so much going on over there. The lead singer from Skid Row was in a band called Heat that was from Sweden as well. There's something going on over there. Ghost, Evergrey, you know, is from Sweden. So they're, you know, band I just mentioned in the previous album, you know, so there's just so much good music coming out of there. It's unbelievable. And obviously music history in Sweden is just huge, you know, with ABBA and, you know, just a bunch of other stuff. Even in the pop vein, you know, there's tons and tons of popular music right now on the radio that is really inspired and written and produced by Swedish producers and writers. Anyway, this is number 9. Oh, and my Crazy Lixx is on the yellow. I think this is the only one that's on only release. This album has gone way up in price too. It's hard to get. It's out of print. I think there was maybe 300 or 500 copies or something. Hardly any. All right, number 8 is a band that I saw twice live this year. They opened for Haunt, which they put out a great album this year as well. But this band opened for them on 2 dates. It was just a complete coincidence that I was able to do this. They came to Charlotte, Haunt, with this band, And then the next week, after I saw them here in Charlotte, I had a planned trip already to go to Michigan, which is where I'm originally from, you know, and they were playing there as well that next week. And a friend of mine who lives in Detroit or around Detroit in Michigan, he was going to go to that show as well. So I planned on going to both shows. So I saw this band and Haunt play 2 times in basically 2 weeks. It was really, really great. Haunt is so great live, and their set list was different in both shows. You know, they played mostly the same songs, but there was at least, you know, 3 or 4 songs that were different between each set, which was cool. This band, though, they played this full album both times. Now, this one's kind of a cheat as well, but like I said, my criteria is a vinyl release. This CD actually came out or was released early in 2021. I think it was October 22nd, 2021. But the vinyl release, according to Discogs anyway, was September 9th, 2022, which is when, and I bought this at the show, so I had only heard this album in 2022. So I consider this a 2022 release, even though it's been out a bit longer than that. But this is my top 10 vinyl releases that were released in 2022. Maybe I should specify that in the title of the video. But anyway, Seven Sisters, my album is signed. I don't know if you can see any of the signatures there. They're kind of, you know, you can kind of see the album cover is really busy with the art, so the marker they use kind of blends in. But all 4 members signed it. It was great. I was lucky too, because when I went to the Detroit show, they were sold out of vinyl. So, and I was glad that I went to the Charlotte show, which was obviously a week earlier, when they still had vinyl of this. This album came out in this blue, clear kind of swirl or marble or whatever. It's translucent though, you know, like a blue, but with the cloudy, you know, mixed in. Anyway, this is a fantastic record. This is a kind of like a traditional metal / power metal record. These guys are great. A few songs to check out on this are Artifice, which is a really great song, Beyond the Black Stars, Whispers in the Dark, and Horizon's Eye. All great, great songs. This is just a fantastic album. It's very melodic, very power metal-ish, but still traditional metal-ish. So it's kind of a mix. Maybe it kind of reminds me maybe of like, I don't want to say like a Sabotage, but maybe a US power metal sound, kind of. Maybe a little Fates Warning mixed in there, but not as progressive. But it's also really melodic. So just props to these guys for making a great record. And so this is their 3rd record. And the name of this album is Shadow of a Falling Star Part 1. Fantastic record. My number 7 album of the year. Yeah, great, great, great album. Oh no, that was number 8. Sorry. This is number 7. This is the 6th studio album from a thrash metal band, and I'm so glad that a thrash metal band made it to the top 10 of my list. You know, thrash metal is a favorite genre of mine, but most of the albums that I listen to regularly from thrash metal are older records, you know, from the 80s and, you know, early 90s, even mid 90s, some of the stuff that's been reissued. But yeah, there's a lot of thrash metal out there, but from classic bands from the era, Testament is a band that I still like. I still like buying their records, so they're a band that kept it going. And this is a band that kept it going as well. And their brand new album that just came out, this is Untitled 7 Words. This is a spiritual successor to For Whose Advantage, because For Whose Advantage is one of my favorite thrash metal albums from the 80s. I don't know if I'm alone on that island, or, you know, I mean, that's probably in my top 10. And this album is fantastic. It is incredibly replayable. You can just keep flipping this album over and over and over again, and it just keeps killing it every time I listen to it. It gets better and better. every single time. There's only 2 original members, a guitar player and the drummer. And this guy, the singer, he's been in several of the albums since For Whose Advantage. So, and this guy, I'm not sure how many albums he's been on, but he's kind of the newest guy, or one of the newer guys. So yeah, pick this album up immediately. This is produced by Andy Sneap as well. So it sounds great. It's a masterpiece. Notable songs: Behind the Walls of Treachery, 7 Words, Spitcoin, and Everybody Loves You When You're Dead. Fantastic. And I got this on green. Okay. Number 6. Number 6 is kind of another, I still put this band under my I have a genre dedicated just to thrash genre section. It takes up four of my cubbies, so it's pretty, I don't know how, several hundred, couple hundred, maybe 250 thrash metal albums that I would actually consider thrash metal. This band is kind of a mix. They're more like a speed metal, but they have a lot of 80s influence, of even like glam metal, but more like the heavier stuff like Wasp, I would say, that these guys are more influenced by. And this album is great. It impressed me from the first time I listened to it. I have the album before this from the band, and I thought that album was just okay. I really probably just need to revisit it. But this album, I think because the songs are more mid-paced and they're more melodic for the most part, and there's a song on here that is just really, really good. It was the single, and this is Evil Invaders. This is Shattered Existence. This album it really, really, really impressed me from the first a couple times that I listened to it. I was just like kind of hooked. His vocals are just amazing. Evil Invaders, these guys are fantastic. They're from Belgium, which is interesting. I don't have a lot of bands that are from Belgium that I'm aware of. So these guys are fantastic though. And yeah, here's a picture of the guys and the lyric sheet. This album I just got on black vinyl. And yeah, it reminds me of like, it's kind of reminds me of what I write. It's reminiscent of Wasp, 80s speed metal, and thrash, kind of like a mix of all that. And it has really great riffs, but with really good melody. Some reviews mention King Diamond, which I can kind of hear a little bit. It's just great songs, great heavy metal. And that's what I would kind of put this as heavy metal, because it's kind of a mix of things. But the Wasp influence, I think, was interesting. Somebody wrote that on a video after somebody else talked about that they bought this album. And I just thought that worked so well. I was like, I don't know if I would have thought of Wasp, but I really do. I think that, especially the mid-paced stuff. There's a song on here, the single is In Deepest Black. That song is great. Hissing and Crescendo, and The Circle. Circle is an excellent song too. Those are the 2 of those songs, In the Deepest Black and The Circle. The Circle is it has mid-paced parts, it has fast parts, but it's kind of their most diverse, I guess, song on the album. And In Deepest Black is kind of a, like a ballad almost. It's not really a ballad. It gets pretty heavy, but it's maybe the most melodic of the songs, and it's very mid-paced, maybe slow to mid-paced, but it's just fantastic. It's a great song. Almost for that song alone made me keep wanting to listen to the record, but then I just kept finding parts of songs that I really, really liked. And yeah, this album is just fantastic. Highly recommend it. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we are on the 5, 4, 3, 2. Yeah, so this is number 5. This is going to be a departure from metal. I have two albums on here. Well, kind of 3, but mostly 2 that are, pure, 2 that are pure, not metal. And this is one of them. This is the Linda Lindas. This is Growing Up. These guys impress the hell out of me, man. This album is so great. I really love the punk attitude of the band. You get these little cutouts. And they're just fantastic. They're a bunch of kids, basically, that are between 12 and 18 years old. They were kind of put together by their parents. The lyrics and stuff, they really, really sound like they're coming from you know, their point of view, which I think is great. And not to say that it's a young point of view, but it just feels fresh, you know. It doesn't feel like somebody's helping them out, you know. But anyway, this album is just so good. It's very melodic. There's just some great songs on here. It reminds me of, yeah, it's just great. I wrote great melodic punk rock. It reminds me of 90s Riot Grrrl stuff, you know, like Bikini Kill, a Tiger Trap, you know, stuff from K Records, stuff like that. It just really puts me in that. Slant Six, bands like that, you know. So Linda Linda's fits right in there, and just brings the 90s, you know, that 90s indie rock, Riot Grrrl sound. And Amy Poehler, you know, she seemed to have been from that era, or at least influenced by the music from that era. When she made the movie Moxie, she got these guys to play Rebel Girl from Bikini Kill in the movie. And I liked that movie. I think some people thought that movie was a miss, but I kind of really enjoyed that movie, even though it was a polished version of kind of, I guess, what influenced it, but it was still a fun movie. And Linda Linda's is great. The band title is was inspired by a movie, a Japanese movie called Linda Linda Linda. There's a band in that movie. A bunch of Japanese girls have a band in a high school. So they were kind of, you know, mirroring, you know, being kids, you know, being influenced by a movie. Yeah. So anyway, fantastic record. Great band. And the songs are just great. Songs to check out: Growing Up is really good. Song Oh, Talking to Myself, Why, Remember, and Magic. All great songs. Just the whole album is great to listen to. And it's incredibly short. I think it's like 35 minutes, maybe, something like that. It's really short. So you can get through this album really quick, and you can just keep flipping it. Boom, boom, boom. And this one is at 45 RPM even. So it takes up the whole side. And it just sounds fantastic, and they're just great. Linda Linda's my number 5. My number 4, this, of course, was going to be in the top 10. You know, anybody who knows me, you know, who really knows my musical loves, knows that Arjen Lucassen, if he put out an album in the year of my top 10s, or you know, in a year, he's going to be in my top 10. And this is the Star One album. This album is fantastic. Look at all these people who were on this album. Sir Russell Allen, Brittany Slays, Michael Romero, Ed Warby on drums, of course. Michael Mills, who's a constant now. Tony Martin sings on this. Adrian Vandenberg plays guitar. Dan Swano sings. Jolyn Turner is on this, sings a song. Damian Wilson sings a song. Floor Jansen sings a song. Arjen plays guitar. Roy Khan sings on this. He's from Camelot. And Steve Vai plays a guitar solo on the epic track Lost Children of the Universe, 9 minutes, 46 seconds. Arjen is a genius, in my opinion. He can do no wrong. I mean, even if this Star One album sounds exactly like every other Star One album, that's still a good Star One album, right? Yeah, so Fate of Man is a great song to check out. Brittany Slays sings on that from Unleash the Archers. 28 Days Till the End is good because Sir Russell Allen sings on that. Let's see. Revel in Time has a guitar solo from Adrian Vandenberg. The Year of 41 is the song that Jolyn Turner sings on. Damian Wilson sings on Bridge of Life. He's in a band called Threshold. I believe he still sings for that band right now. Let's see. Today's Yesterday is Dan Swano sings on that. Love Dan Swano from Edge of Sanity. Yeah, just a great. He sings clean on this. He doesn't sing death metal, and he's a great producer of death metal. You know, he's from the era, and his productions are flawless. He's really good. Let's see. A Hand of the Clock is sung by Floor Jansen, she's a singer for Nightwish now, but she's been singing with Arjen for way before that. Let's see. And Roy Khan sings for Lost Children of the Universe with a guitar solo from Steve Vai. It's a fantastic record. It's what you would expect from Star One. If you've heard a Star One record, I don't think you're going to be surprised by this album, but it's, you know, not being surprised that Arjen made a genius record. you know, he just did. I got this on the orange. Yeah, that's really all there is to say about it. It's fantastic. I love Arjun. You know, I'm completely biased when it comes to Arjun. I don't know that I could not like an area. I even like Transitus. I love Transitus. I you know, and I know that's not, I know it's not his best work. I know that in my head, like logically, but when I listen to that record, I just enjoy listening to it. Just is what it is. I didn't put it, you know, in the top 3 because I have 3 other albums that the next 3 albums are basically almost interchangeable, but I'm going to leave them in the order that I have them, but they could go either way. Yeah. So Star One, this is Revel in Time. All the songs on here deal with time travel. That's what the Star One project is. It has songs that are about Arjun's favorite movies or TV shows that he's influenced by. One of the songs is, you know, just about Back to the Future. So if you ever wanted to just hear a song that was about Back to the Future that is fucking great, it isn't cheesy, this is the album to listen to. Great album by Star One. Number 4 album of the year for me. All right. We're in the top 3. The top 3, kind of interchangeable. This album, though, my number 3 would not be number 1, but it could easily have been number 2. The only reason is because I think that our favorite artists, you know, at least for me, put a lot of pressure on them, and when they come out with an album that I don't like just love from beginning to end, like if there are parts of the album that I am not as crazy about as, you know, previous albums from the artist, you know, from some of my favorite artists. Like Arjun put out a solid album. It's really good. I don't have anything disappointing to say. It's not much new that he brought to the table, I don't think, but it's a solid album. But this artist I love, like one of my favorite. I don't think that she'll ever not be in a top 10 for me, similar to Arjun. But this album was not perfect. But a not perfect album from this artist is still in the top 3, right? Like, that's just the reality of it for me. And that is the new album from Aurora. This is The Gods We Can Touch. Aurora is another genius artist that I love. She is fantastic. She is amazing. The songs are great. This is the only pop record that's on my top 10. I probably, if I listen to some more, I am so far behind, guys, listening to my albums that, you know, there are several albums that came out in 2022 that could have been on the my top 10, but I just didn't get to listen to them very much. But I did spend a lot of time with this album, and I love this album, but there are a couple, you know, a couple songs on here, or a few songs on here that are just not up to the Aurora standard, I would say, you know, for myself, you know, because the standard is so high. So for Aurora to disappoint me even a little bit is shocking, honestly. But anyway, great album. It's her 3rd full length. This album is fantastic. It's really, really good. It's in my top 3. It's my number 3. The songs to check out on here are Everything Matters, Giving Into Love, Cure for Me, which was one of the singles, You Keep Me Crawling, which is a great song. That was one of the songs, one of the deeper cuts that I just really, really love. Heathens is really good. Very High. And a highlight is, or Blood in the Wine. Yeah, Blood in the Wine. That's a great song. This album is just fantastic. There's not much going on these inner sleeves, and the one thing that I fucking hate is the typeface. It's this really light purple on black, and it's really thin type space, so it's really, really hard to read, which is really annoying. I didn't like this inner sleeve. Has nothing except for this symbol, which is cool. You know, the symbol is cool, but I really want a lot more details. You know, I mean, you have all this space on an album, you know, to put art, word, lyrics, thank you lists, you know, just information, you know, write me a note. You know, this is fantastic. You know, to get a whole full center, you know, gatefold like that with a cool picture is really cool. And there's alternate covers to this, which I wish I had gotten. I only have this on black, but yeah, this is my number 3 album of the year. It's a great record. It's just that there are a few songs on here that I'm not even going to really mention them because I don't want people's opinions to be affected by, you know, especially Aurora, because I love her so much. I just, you know, I don't want to influence anybody when they listen to this album themselves. So check it out. Check out any of her albums, any of her stuff. It's fantastic. Her voice is amazing. As an artist, she's amazing. Her interviews are amazing. Her live shows are amazing. She just loves making music and trying to make the world a better place, honestly. Just using music. That's her talent, is writing songs, and she knows it. And it's just pure dumb luck, really, that she got discovered, kind of. And now she's one of the best-selling, you know, Norwegian artists for sure. But, you know, in America, she's still, you know, she's doing well here, but she needs to be bigger. Anyway, that's Aurora. All right, my number 2 favorite album of the year. This album impressed the fucking hell out of me. I really love this album. And this is another kind of throwback to 80s glam. And I already kind of mentioned them when I talked about Crazy Lixx, but these guys also had an album that came out in 2022. This came out, I don't have the date, but it came out kind of the middle of the year. And that's Crashdie, Automaton. This album is fantastic. It's a great, this album would be on Headbangers Ball every week forever to come. This album is just so good. Incredibly melodic. Every song on here is great. I went back and forth to make this my number 1 or not, but my number 1 is my number 1. It's been my number 1 most of the year, but this album has been in the running to kind of overtake it as the more and more I listen to it. This album is really consistent. The new lead singer on this album is the same lead singer from the last album, Rust. And the last album, Rust, was really good as well. I got that just this year as well and listened to that quite a bit. Shout out to Atmosphere Collectibles, which I only found out about from a friend of mine, Rockley Records, who lives in Indiana where that record store is. And I started watching their videos, and they showed a used copy of Rust and another Crashdie album, and I ended up ordering it through them and getting them shipped. And this album just luckily came out this year as well. So it's crazy. I bought 3 Crashdie albums this year. I'm impressed with all of them, but this album is great. Songs to check out on this album is Together Whatever is really good. Shine On is great. No Man's Land is great. Powerline features Michael Starr from Steel Panther. Great. And We Die Hard is also really good. Those are songs I would check out. I'm going to make a Spotify playlist of my top 10. I'm just going to put 2 songs from every album. But this album is great. Got lyrics here. Can read them, which is great. That's always a plus, right? And I got this one on a kind of a red transparent. Fantastic album. Crashdie is great. If you like Crazy Lixx, definitely buy Crashdie. I think you'll like it. They're a bit more melodic, maybe a bit more pop, but pop metal. But I just think it's, the songs are almost better than Crazy Lixx. That's why Crazy Lixx is kind of further down, because I like older Crazy Lixx albums more than I like Street Lethal. But Street Lethal is still, you know, really great. It wouldn't be on my top 10 if I didn't think so. But this album just is, it's perfect. There isn't a song on here I don't like. Great album. Pick it up if you want. This is like a summertime, roll the windows down, cruise in a street, you know, checking out girls, whole thing, man. This is just that era of the 80s. These guys would be huge if it was 1988. These guys in Crazy Lixx, they would just be you know, they'd be giant. All right, my number one record. It's an interesting band. The genres for this band are as follows: alternate rock, punk rock, rap rock, which would probably mean like a Beastie Boys kind of influence, or Rage Against the Machine kind of influence, and nu metal. Put all that together, does that make a number one favorite album for anybody? For me, yes. Now, those genres, not this album, probably would be bad, right? I'm sure there's other bands you could put all of those genre descriptions on of albums that I won't like, especially nu metal. Like nu metal, or bands that are kind of considered nu metal, like Korn. I don't like Korn. I just don't like Korn. These guys are not that. Slipknot, I like. I don't know why. I really like Slipknot, but I don't like Korn. I don't like a lot of that nu metal stuff, but there are some bands that just pop out. Ice Nine Kills, I wouldn't say is necessarily nu metal, but you know, they're kind of like more melodic hardcore, but you know, they toured with Slipknot, so you know, I love Ice Nine Kills, but there are bands in that genre that Ice Nine Kills is in that I just can't stand and I don't like. So it's really hit or miss, but this album just hit me, and it hit me hard, and it was maybe it's my number one because it just surprised me so much how much I liked it. And that is Nova Twins. This album cover is crazy, right? Okay, so I saw this album cover. I'm flipping through Instagram, right? I see this album cover, you know, and female artists just pop out to me all the time. So, you know, whenever there's a female artist, I am always more interested in checking that out than I would be a male artist. For whatever reason, I don't know. It's just, you know, my immediate reaction, right? My immediate instinct is to stop when I see a female artist. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? Let me check this out. Whereas male artists of a genre, you know, I'd probably have to hear it first. Visual doesn't do anything for me. Visually, I was like, what is this? And it was on a Instagram that of a guy who posts a lot of metal, you know? So I was like, why is this on his Instagram? So I immediately like figured out the band and I started listening to the songs, and I was just blown away. I was like, this is amazing. And a lot of it was just the attitude of the songs and the lyrics, honestly. You know, they were just popping out to me. They were funny, they were cool, and it was heavy. This is a very heavy album, and it's just unique. And I like pop metal, you know, and that's what kind of this is more a pop metal album, you know, like baby metal. I love baby metal. It just does it for me. These guys don't sound like baby metal, but it just has a pop sensibility to it, like baby metal, that I like. And in a metal context, like these guys could easily tour with Rage Against the Machine, and they would get the crowd as pumped as Rage could, in my opinion. I think so. And yeah, this album is just great. It's two females who are in the band, who are the main songwriters and instrumentalists, and Amy Love plays the guitar, and Georgia South plays the bass. Now, she has a whole, if you watch her live, you know, watch some live shows, her pedal board is like takes up, you know, it takes up almost the whole side of her stage. It's crazy. Her pedal board is nuts. So she plays the bass, and you know, she plays this gigantic bass too. At least it's probably not huge, but these girls are tiny, so like the instrument, at least on her, looks gigantic. And she's just banging on these pedals, just playing these parts, and it's just amazing. I was just totally blown away. And I really, 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 really like this album. And all of those genre attributes, they really do fit. They were just metal cred, you know, Kerrang just nominated these guys as one of the bands of the year. So, you know, metal, kind of like how baby metal gets recognized by a lot of the metal mags. These guys are getting recognized for that, and they're kind of crossover, you know, because they have a pop element, they have a metal element, and kind of how like Rage. I kind of use Rage as an analogy because Rage Against the Machine kind of did that. You know, they brought in metal fans, but they brought in fans of rap, and they brought in fans of, you know, pop even, you know. So like they attracted a lot of different groups of people who were interested in their sound. And I think that Nova Twins, in any other time, you know, where we were all listening to the same music, you know, like if everybody's watching MTV, you know, we're all being fed the same thing, or the radio, where now you can just find the music that you like, and it's really hard to get everybody on the same page for a certain music, you know, or just music in general. That's why, you know, genres are just, they're not gone, but it's really, that's why I think bands like this, you know, with 5 different genres are maybe more frequently happening now, is because everybody's listening to so much different stuff, and it's not all being fed by one thing, like by an MTV or your radio. You know, people are finding stuff all over the place. You know, the algorithms in YouTube they can start you with the Beatles, and you end up, you know, with you know, like, you know, hardcore rap, you know. You know, you could probably figure out a way to get from, you know, I Want to Hold Your Hand to like a 2 Live Crew song, you know. The algorithm could do that to you. So I think people get influenced way more crazily or just jointedly nowadays because of how the algorithms work and everything, and even on Spotify and things like that, than if, you know, you were just being fed the music through only a few sources. Anyway, that's just a long rant about why this album is my number 1. Great songs on here, songs that I would check out: Antagonist, Cleopatra, KMB, and there's a song on A Darker Place for Somewhere Beautiful, and Sleep Paralysis are all great songs. Almost side 1 on this album is just near perfect. And the lyrics are so great on this album. Cleopatra is great. KMB is great. Just pull up those lyrics, listen to those couple songs. I think I put Antagonist and KMB, or maybe Cleopatra and KMB. I can't remember the 2 songs I put on the playlist, but please listen to these guys. They're my favorite album of the year. I listened to this album a ton. Nova Twins, Supernova, came out in 2022. Thank you to the person who put it up on Instagram, and kind of cover just jumped out at me. And this album was immediate. You know, as soon as I started playing it, at first I was like, okay, what am I listening to? And then after a few minutes of listening to a couple songs each, I was just like, I don't even care what genre this is. These songs are freaking great. They're very melodic, you know, they're sing-along, they have great attitude. And then I found some live stuff on YouTube that was just blew me away even more. They're just have a ton of energy live. And I was just very impressed. And I really like this album. I listened to it quite a bit this year. And that's my top 10 albums from 2022. I just have this black. Yeah, top 10 from 2022. Great albums this year. I do buy a lot of music. Not a lot, but I do buy music from 2022. I know a lot of people who collect, maybe not a lot, but some people that collect, they just collect their favorites, you know, and there is a lot of stuff that I still don't have that are my favorite albums from previous years. You know, I really don't have to buy anything new. I could spend all my money on old stuff, but, you know, I like discovering new bands. I really do. And so I'm going to do just a few honorable mentions. Skid Row put out a great, fantastic album this year. Got this on the black splatter. Black, clear, white, red splatter. This is The Gang's All Here, even though the gang isn't all here if you're talking classic Skid Row lineup. Like I was talking about, the singer from Heat, a Swedish singer, sings for Skid Row now. Sounds a lot like Sebastian Bach. Fantastic album. I would check this out. Another honorable mention, this is a tech death album, Enterprise Earth. These guys are really, really fantastic. Got this on this cool blue galaxy type vinyl. Yeah, if you're into a technical death metal with kind of a little bit of melody, memorable songs, these guys are real good. Really, really good. This album is really long. I think that's the only thing that hurts it. It's probably like 50, 60 minutes of music. So there's a lot to absorb. And with limited time, you know, it may not, you know, you may only really listen to the first half of the album and really, really like it. But that second half is good as well. Really good album. Classic lineup, classic band. Bloodbath put out a new record. The Nick Holmes, singer from Paradise Lost, is singing on this, helped write some of the songs. The guy from Catatonia is still in the band. I believe he's still playing bass. Jonas Rensky, yeah, he's playing bass still. Yeah, really good death metal, just 90s style. Entombed, you know, Dismember, Carnage, you know, if you like any of that early death metal stuff, Bloodbath is you're gonna like, or it's just as good. And the last album, this came out in 2022. I talked about these guys already. These guys all toured with, or Seven Sisters toured with these guys. This is Haunt. This is Windows of Your Heart. The only reason this isn't in my top, it almost was, it really was, it was really, really close, is just that it's a number 11. You know, it really is just 11 this year. Unfortunately, out of everything else that I picked, I really like, I listened to this quite a bit, but I didn't listen to it as much as the other stuff that I, in my top 10. Still, fantastic album, just an honorable mention this year. All right, thanks, bye.